Chapter 11. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Today, he ate a lot of high-nutrition food in the barbecue queue, and at this time, Uchiha Bloodline, Green, has reached the edge of upgrading to LV10, according to Uchiha Xingliu's judgment on the speed of the hang-up system. By this time tomorrow, the ability of Uchiha Bloodline will almost be able to break through to the next level. At that time, it is time to verify whether the idea is correct. As for the medical skills, the medical knowledge that has just been obtained, it needs to be learned into an ability before it can be hung up. Now there is an idle hang-up bar. Uchiha Xingliu puts the great fireball technique on it first, so that it will not be wasted. After doing all this, Uchiha Xingliu walked to the table where medical books were piled up and sat down. With so many books, it seems that it is not a simple thing to want to form medical knowledge into ability. I originally wanted to get close to Tsunade and others in the ninja school, but I didn't expect it to be so smooth now, which makes me a little confused about how to proceed next. Looking at the piles of books, Uchiha Xingliu couldn't help but be distracted. The plan to approach Tsunade has not started yet, but the goal has been achieved, which makes him happy and speechless at the same time. Uchiha Xingliu was adopted by Uzumaki Mito. As long as he does not make any excessive moves and as long as Uzumaki Mito is not dead, his life will be safe. Although Uzumaki Mito has not reached a reconciliation with the Nine-Tails, her powerful sealing technique can forcibly extract the Nine-Tails chakra to form the Nine-Tails chakra mode. With Konoha's current combat power, it may not be able to beat Uzumaki Mito even if they are tied together. So on the surface, the third Hokage has the final say, but if Uzumaki Mito does not nod, he has no way to do anything. This made Uchiha Xingliu's somewhat anxious heart return to calm. Although he said that he did not want to work hard, the world of Naruto has never been peaceful. Although there was a long period of peace after the First World War, it does not mean that there was no fighting. There must be all kinds of filth between the 5 major countries. For the profession of ninja, assassination and espionage activities are impossible to be less. Uchiha Xingliu is also a Uchiha, and he is not taken seriously, so he is afraid that he will be killed by others in the early stage anyway. He has to assassinate, and assassinating an ignorant Uchiha who is not taken seriously will not be exposed in a short time, which will be convenient for running away, and he can also explain it after returning to the ninja village. What's more, there were only 3 or 4 years between the Second and Third Ninja World Wars, and then it lasted for more than 10 years before it ended. Just think about it, what kind of hell picture would such a long war be? So even if Uchiha Xingliu has an autoplay system, he still feels a little anxious. The autoplay speed of the current autoplay system is not slow, but the upper limit is also very important. What if the ability defined in the system is a color-level ability, just the Sharingan is upgraded to a Mangekyo, then it can be said that the system is useful but not much. But in fact, this is Uchiha Xingliu's own fantasy, and soon his urgency will be replaced by surprise. On the other side, Uzumaki Mito also brought Tsunade back to the Senju clan. Walking into the house with Tsunade, the maid was about to serve Uzumaki Mito. Seeing this, Uzumaki Mito was somewhat helpless. Chinatsu, I have told you many times that I don't need you to serve me. I am not that old yet. Although Uzumaki Mito looks like a young girl now, she is actually over 50 years old. In the world of ninjas where the average age is only 20 or 30, people in their 50s are already very rare. Uzumaki Mito can use the In seal, which makes her look so young and beautiful. That won't do. As a maid, it is my duty to serve Mito-sama. What's more, I am very grateful to Mito-sama. Because of you, I can support my family. Chinatsu said, and stubbornly served Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito's expression became even more helpless. Most of the maids in her house were girls who had no ninja talent and had difficulties in their families. She also understood that these girls wanted to repay her, but only Chiharu was so stubborn. But then Uzumaki Mito seemed to have thought of something and said to Chiharu, "Now I have something to trouble you. I will adopt a child in a few days. You clean up a room according to Tsunade's specifications." Chiharu was not disturbed by this way of changing the subject. After helping Uzumaki Mito change her shoes and coat, she said, "I understand. I will clean it up. Please rest assured, Mito-sama." The failure of Uzumaki Mito's little plan made Tsunade laugh secretly, but she had no expression on her face. Chiharu, don't serve me like this in the future. I'm not so old that I can't move. And I always treat you as my own child. You don't have to be a maid here all the time. Although your talent is not the best I have ever seen, it can also be ranked in the top 10. As I said just now, although most of the maids in Uzumaki Mito's mansion are untalented, most of them mean that only Chinatsu has ninja talent. Chinatsu's family is a ninja family. Chinatsu inherited all the advantages of her parents and her ninja talent is extremely outstanding. In the First Ninja World War, Chinatsu's parents, as ninjas, naturally went to the battlefield. On the battlefield, Chinatsu's parents' team encountered a sneak attack by the Sand Ninja Puppet Unit. Fortunately, they did not die on the spot like other teammates, but unfortunately, the poisoning damaged their bodies. Not to mention continuing to become ninjas, they had to take expensive drugs all the time if they wanted to survive. Although before this, her family had some assets, but it couldn't stop the bottomless pit. Just when Chinatsu was most desperate, Uzumaki Mito found her. Chinatsu still remembers that day when she wanted to buy medicine but had no money and was driven out by her boss, hiding in the corner and crying helplessly, thinking of her parents who smiled at her with pain. Chinatsu cried even louder. Chinatsu knew that if she didn't buy the medicine back today, she would become a person in the future. At this time, Uzumaki Mito found her crying in the corner and said to her the words that saved her. Flowers can't be watered with tears, they need bright sunshine to bloom beautiful flowers. Little flower, no matter what difficulties you have, tell your sister, I will help you solve them. Just like that, Uzumaki Mito has been paying for her medical expenses since then. It was also at that time that Chinatsu decided to repay Uzumaki Mito for saving her. Hearing Uzumaki Mito's words, Chinatsu recalled the past in just a moment. Chinatsu looked at Uzumaki Mito puffing up his cheeks in anger, and this childish way of expressing dissatisfaction made her smile. Let others take care of ninja matters. I want to stay by Mito-sama's side. Chapter 12. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uzumaki Mito looked at the smiling Chinatsu and knew that she could not convince her just like before. She sighed and walked to Chinatsu, looked into her eyes and said, My time as an old woman has ended, but yours has just begun. When you figure it out, tell me. Then Uzumaki Mito took Tsunade into the inner room, and Chinatsu left the place silently after seeing Uzumaki Mito walk away. Although Chinatsu was stubborn, she tried her best to do everything perfect for Mito-sama's request. She understood Uzumaki Mito's temperament and knew that she was not a partial person. Even if it was just an adopted child, the treatment would not be bad. So when Mito-sama asked her to clean up the house, she would do it according to Tsunade's treatment. After Mito took Tsunade into the inner room, he raised his hand and flicked Tsunade's forehead. It hurts. Tsunade covered her red forehead and looked at Uzumaki Mito with a puzzled look. Little Tsunade needs to improve her ability to hold back her laughter. She looked so funny even though she was injured just now. Tsunade felt guilty, but still said stubbornly. What? Grandma is so old and still bothers with a child. Before she finished, Tsunade secretly cursed. She held her head with both hands and closed her eyes, waiting for the next storm, but after a while, it was still calm. Tsunade opened her eyes and saw Uzumaki Mito looking at her unhappily. Okay, put your hands down. I have something serious to tell you. Hearing Uzumaki Mito say something to her, she felt that she had escaped a disaster and put down her hands and sat up obediently. I didn't adopt that child today to be your child-in-law. Tsunade, as the leader of the Senju lineage of this generation, you can't be so naive. Tell me, what other intentions do I have in adopting that child today? She can become the 5th generation Hokage, and sometimes she can be lazy and go out to drink, and she won't let the village have any problems. Tsunade's wisdom is unquestionable. Although she has just entered school, the cruelty of the ninja world will make children understand the truth of the world too early. At this time, Tsunade was reminded by Uzumaki Mito and woke up. Uchiha Tsuryu is undoubtedly from the Uchiha clan, and he is an orphan. Is the purpose of Grandma adopting him because he is an Uchiha? Uzumaki Mito looked at Tsunade with admiration and praised. You are worthy of being my granddaughter. You are right. It is because he is from the Uchiha clan. Now the village excludes Uchiha. If this problem is not solved, it will leave big trouble for future generations. I will take the lead in adopting Uchiha and send a signal to the village, which will change the attitude of the village towards Uchiha. The village is Hashirama's lifelong achievement. I can't let his hard work be destroyed. Just when Tsunade was a little happy about being praised, Uzumaki Mito changed the subject and said something that made Tsunade regret not running away just now. Since you are so smart, then learn the sealing technique with me in the afternoon. Before she had time to be happy, Tsunade was sunk by Uzumaki Mito's words. Tsunade's talent is needless to say. She will be a powerful Kage in the future. It will be no problem for her to learn simple sealing techniques, then why resist? It's because learning sealing techniques is boring, and many advanced sealing techniques are like heavenly books. What's more, there is a teacher with a bad temper. That teacher is your grandmother. If you can't learn, you will really be hung up by the diamond seal. Uzumaki Mito doesn't care about Tsunade's reaction. Learning sealing techniques is not to harm her. Besides, whether it's at Barbecue Q or Chinatsu, Tsunade's performance has been seen by her. Tsunade thought it was over, but she didn't know that Uzumaki Mito was holding it in. Time passed in learning. The next morning, Uchiha Xingliu was awakened by the changes in his body. Uchiha Xingliu felt a strong force pouring into his body, as if thousands of thin ropes were stirring in his meridians. His breathing also became steady and powerful, and his heartbeat accelerated, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. The muscles of his whole body seemed to be injected with endless energy, and the tense feeling made him as excited as a bowstring. Uchiha could feel every subtle change in his muscles, bones, meridians and internal organs, and this feeling was like rebirth. At this moment, his eyes suddenly opened the Sharingan unconsciously. As a cool breeze passed through his eyes, his vision became sharper, and he captured every breath and every tiny movement. This change lasted for an hour before it stopped. Uchiha Xingliu stopped changing. At that moment, the system panel was opened immediately. Host, Uchiha Xingliu, Skills, 2 Magatama Sharingan, Green, LV9, Indra Bloodline, Remnant, Blue, LV1, Fire Style. Great Fireball Technique, Green, Fire Style. Imparata Technique, Green, Fire Style. Great Dragon Fire Technique, Green, Cooking, White, Hang Up Bar, Sora, Indra Bloodline, Remnant, Blue, LV1, 2 Magatama Sharingan, Green, LV9. Combat Power, 150, Combat Power increases quickly, which means cheating, right? You are right, I have cheated. Tip, the host's ability is improved, and the combat power is only for reference. It is not recommended to overtrust it. The system's complaints are still sharp, but there are also many more changes. First of all, there is an additional hang-up bar, and Uchiha Xingliu put the Great Fireball item in it without saying a word. Then there is an additional function, Prompt. Although it seems nothing at first glance, Uchiha Xingliu felt the improvement of the system. The previous system was as rigid as a machine except for complaints about combat power. Now there is a prompt function, which means that the system can also be upgraded. The upgrade of Bloodline ability also upgraded Uchiha Xingliu's Sharingan. Although it is still a green ability, it has changed from 1 Magatama to 2 Magatama. The level has also changed from LV8 to LV9. This change also made Uchiha Xingliu understand, even if the ability has not broken through, the change in level will bring benefits to the improvement of the ability. What makes Uchiha Xingliu even more excited is that the ability of the blue level alone has reached the level of Indra. According to this calculation, the Sharingan will become a Mangekyo Sharingan when it breaks through to blue, and it will become an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan when it reaches purple. Although Uchiha is a descendant of Indra, each Uchiha has different talents. Indra's reincarnation is the best, and it is extremely difficult for other Uchiha to break through the Mangekyo. Moreover, the eternal Mangekyo, which has no side effects, has been mentioned in the plot. Once Indra's Mangekyo is turned on, there is no side effect, so the world of Naruto is called the Otsutsuki Family Affairs and the Legend of the Eyes, and there is no problem at all. Chapter 13. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although the current Indra bloodline has a residual word, it also shows that the current Uchiha Xingliu has the ability to open the Mangekyo without side effects. it is nothing more than spending some time to upgrade to another level to complete this residual work. According to the current system's idle ability, the orange ability can reach the 6 paths level. If this continues, Uchiha Xingliu will sooner or later become a god, so even if it does not reach the upper limit of the system, there is no opponent in the ninja continent. This discovery made Uchiha Xingliu happy for a long time, and then he noticed the system prompt. It is easy to understand that combat power can only be used as a reference. Two people with the same ability, one has combat experience and the other has no experience. The one who survives the fight must be the one with combat experience. Just like when ordinary people encounter gangsters, the first reaction will definitely not be "I can kill them back." Being able to calm down and run away in the first time is considered beyond ordinary people. For example, Kaguya Otsutsuki, as the ancestor of chakra, the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails, even though she was so powerful, Naruto and Sasuke caught her flaw and sealed her again with Chibaku Tensei, so whether you have combat experience or not will still play an important role in a battle of the same level, and can even help you defeat a strong enemy when you are at a disadvantage. The other meaning of this hint is very obscure, but Uchiha Xingliu still saw it. Combat power is only for reference, which means that he has a misunderstanding now. Even if he has the 6 paths physique and his combat power is increased to thousands or tens of thousands, does that mean that Uchiha Xingliu is very strong? Of course, solid basic abilities are a good thing, but how can you defend yourself from the enemy with just basic abilities? Your combat power is just the foundation. Without the right means, you can't compete with people of the same realm with just the strength of your body. This made Uchiha Xingliu decide to improve his means of dealing with the enemy. In this regard, considering that he is of Uchiha blood, the first thing he thought of was fire, so now he put the fire style. Great fireball technique in the newly appeared hang-up column. Besides, it would be very inconvenient if you only have the Sharingan. Even if you open the Mangekyo, it would be very inconvenient if you don't have other abilities. Otherwise, you will open Susanoo to chop a genin when you meet him in the future. It is cool, but it is really unnecessary. Moreover, there are countless people who are good at playing with fire in the world. Although it sounds ordinary, the upper and lower limits are very high. The most convincing one is the Flame Emperor's fire to eliminate inflammation, and the more embarrassing one is Ace in One Piece. So the ability of fire is ordinary, but it is really strong when it is strong. The most important thing is that it will be very handsome. Whether it is strong or not is a temporary thing, but being handsome or not is a lifelong thing. Uchiha Xingliu chose to have them all. Just looking at the 2 Magatama Sharingan, green, in the system, he felt that his eyes opened unconsciously. Then, when he was unprepared, an extra Magatama appeared. Looking at the label of the 3 Magatama Sharingan, green, LV10 on the system, Uchiha Xingliu silently gave the system a thumbs up. After dealing with the system, Uchiha Xingliu began to check the surroundings. He was suddenly awakened by the promotion of his ability. This was the first time the system had promoted its ability, and he didn't know it would cause such a big commotion. The ability that had just been promoted made his chakra increase suddenly, and he couldn't control the sudden increase in power, and finally shook the bed down. Uchiha Xingliu scratched his head in distress. Now that the bed was broken by him, where would he sleep in the future? Then he thought that Uzumaki Mido would officially adopt him tomorrow, and this bed could be used for one night, so he stopped thinking about this problem. At this moment, as if sensing something, Uchiha Xingliu suddenly jumped out of the bed. The chakra that was still not well controlled seemed to sense the will of the master, and suddenly burst out with an amazing sense of oppression. Uchiha Xingliu stared at the window and said loudly, "Who is it?" The next moment, Uchiha Xien walked out from the window and said with a wry smile, "Misunderstood, I came here today to see if you need my help. On the way here, I felt the huge chakra fluctuations here, and I was afraid that you would get into trouble, so I stood by the window to scout first. I didn't expect to cause your misunderstanding. It's my fault." Uchiha Xingliu did not relax his vigilance because of Uchiha Xien's appearance and words, but became more cautious. "Did I ask you for anything yesterday? Transformation skills still need to be guarded. As for the option of opening the Sharingan for verification, Uchiha Xingliu has never thought about it. If Uchiha Xien is true, then the Sharingan issue will not be acceptable." Uchiha Xingliu dare not think that the fact that he opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan at the age of 6 was revealed by the clan. The old stubborn man in the house knew what would happen. Yesterday you asked me for a lot of medical books. We were the only two present at the time. How about that? Can you prove that I didn't use the transformation technique? Hearing this, Uchiha Xingliu slightly let down his guard, but still looked at Uchiha Xian with some caution. Seeing Uchiha Xingliu's expression, Uchiha Xian was also helpless, knowing that what he did was not authentic. Although his starting point was good, he was worried that Uchiha Xingliu would get into trouble, but it was unacceptable to inquire about the owner's situation without permission. Thinking of Uchiha Xingliu's performance yesterday, he thought for a while and said, "I haven't been here today. I will send you some fire escape ninjutsu later. Please accept my apology. But things are different now. Yesterday you ignored me, and today you can't afford it." Although it was just a joke, Uchiha Xingliu no longer needs those edges and corners. Being adopted by Uzumaki Mito means that most of the secrets of the Senju will be open to him. Isn't the information on the ninjutsu of Senju Tobarama interesting? Why bother pursuing other little things? So the current Uchiha Xingliu can no longer use Uchiha Xian's apology. However, based on his impression of Uchiha Xian, this person may be of great use in the future. Uchiha Xian actually showed characteristics different from the Uchiha yesterday, and for the Uchiha clan, this means that this person has the potential to open the Mangekyo. Chapter 14. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Xian can also try his best to meet the requirements of this child, and he is not as arrogant and difficult to get along with as other Uchiha. Today's matter can be fooled, but he can apologize to himself at the first time. This incident further proves that Uchiha Xian is different from other Uchiha. Looking at the Uchiha with this characteristic in the original plot, Obito was a kind and silly boy before he opened the Mangekyo. Shisui and Itachi are also different from the arrogant clansmen. Shisui is really kind, while Itachi hides his arrogance in his heart, so unlike other Uchiha, they have rich hearts. Once they lose something, they will immediately get the power of the curse, the Mangekyo Sharingan. If Uchiha Xian can really open the Mangekyo in the future, he will be a high-end talent anyway. Even if he really can't handle things, he can also be used as a high-end thug. I don't need your apology. How about you owe me this time? Hearing this, Uchiha Xian's squinting eyes opened completely. He first glanced at Uchiha Sarayu, then looked at the collapsed bed and the messy surroundings. Combined with what Uchiha Xian had just felt, the chakra far exceeded that of a jonin. For a moment, he could no longer regard Uchiha Sarayu as a simple child. Yesterday's interactions not only made Uchiha Sarayu understand Uchiha Xian a little. In fact, Uchiha Xian also had some doubts about Uchiha Sarayu. Through yesterday's conversation, he originally thought that it was because of the death of his parents that Uchiha Sarayu seemed a little mature, but what happened today made Uchiha Xian feel that things were not simple. However, today he had already violated the taboos among ninjas, and it would be too rude to continue to delve into it, so he took a deep look at Uchiha Xingliu and said slowly, "No problem, just consider it as something I owe you. Come find me at the guard team in the future, I am the vice captain there. Speaking of which, I also have a daughter who is about the same age as you, and she will also enter the ninja school this year. Her name is Uchiha Gigi, please take good care of her in the future." Uchiha Xian's words surprised Uchiha Xingliu, and he even couldn't control his expression. Looking at Uchiha Xian with surprise, Uchiha Xingliu really didn't expect that Uchiha Xian was actually Uchiha Gigi's father. Uchiha Gigi, as the developer of Izanami, is also one of the few Uchiha who can open the Mangekyo. Her talent can be said to be higher than that of Shisui in later generations, and she is truly the strongest illusion ninja. After all, a ninjutsu that forces you to change and brainwash. You can't escape if you don't change yourself. Just say whether it is the strongest illusion. Of course, this also brought bad news. When Uchiha Gigi was in his teens, there was a civil war in Uchiha. This may be the reason why the Uchiha later did not live up to its name. The civil war seriously damaged the vitality of Uchiha. This was not good news for Uchiha Xingliu, who had long regarded Uchiha as a piece of cake. Internal friction was not what he wanted to see, but then Uchiha Xingliu thought that Uchiha Gigi was the same age as him, and the civil war in Uchiha was still early, so he was not so worried. After all, by that time, Uchiha Xingliu had grown up, and the Uchiha who caused the civil war in Uchiha and used Izanagi for power would inevitably jump out by himself. At that time, whether he was killed or taken in as a dog, the problem could be solved. Uchiha Xien was a little strange. He didn't say anything strange. He just wanted Uchiha Xingliu to take care of his daughter. Why did he show surprise? But there were too many things that puzzled Uchiha Xien today, so he didn't care much about such a small matter. Uchiha Xingliu came back to his senses at this time, knowing that he had just acted too much, and said as a remedy. Big brother looks so young, but he actually has a child. I am really surprised. Big brother is so good to me, just leave your daughter to me. Uchiha Xingliu patted his chest and promised while speaking, and his appearance of a little adult made Uchiha Xien wonder if he was too sensitive. However, the purpose of coming here has been achieved, and he can go back, so he said goodbye. Since nothing happened here, Xingliu, I will say goodbye. There are still many things in the clan that need me. Uchiha Xingliu did not try to stop Uchiha Xien from leaving, but there was something he still needed to tell him. He still needed to tell him that Uzumaki Mito wanted to adopt Uchiha Xingliu, although by that time, everyone in the village would know about this matter. In this way, he could achieve the goal of Uzumaki Mito, but telling Uchiha Xien about this in advance was also a way for him to be prepared. After all, it was obvious that Uzumaki Mito's adoption of him would have an impact on the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha clan itself has many factions, and these factions will not have a common voice. For example, a man named Uchiha Setsuna, in the original plot, he even incited the Uchiha clan to rebel and make trouble, and was finally arrested by the members of the Umbu sent by the second-generation Hokage and imprisoned in prison. This person is the representative of the Hawk faction. If there is a Hawk faction, there will of course be other factions. The Uchiha clan is not large in number, but there are many factions within the clan. Uchiha Xingliu reminded Uchiha Xien at this time, which was equivalent to showing goodwill to the faction behind him. Thinking of this, Uchiha Xingliu immediately walked out and grabbed Uchiha Xien. Uchiha Xien looked at Uchiha Xingliu who was holding him, and was a little confused. Big brother, I will leave here tomorrow. Mito-sama has decided to adopt me. He will take me to the Hokage building to register tomorrow morning, so if you want to find me in the future, you have to go to Senju. Uchiha Xien was stunned, and three classic questions popped up in his mind for a while. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? Am I not keeping up with the times? How come you were adopted by Uzumaki Mito in just one day? Are you the reincarnation of a succubus? Although these words were only what Uchiha Xien thought in his heart, they were enough to prove his shock at the moment. You know, Uzumaki Mito is the wife of the first generation and the first generation of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Although she didn't have a high position in the village, everyone knew how the third generation of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen came to power. If this person didn't nod, the candidate for the third generation would never be Sarutobi Hiruzen. After all, Sarutobi Hiruzen was a member of the Shadow Guard, so no matter what he said, it was a serious dereliction of duty, abandoning the shadow that they were supposed to protect, and letting the shadow come to cover them, and this was just their words, with no evidence at all. If Uzumaki Mito hadn't known that Senju Tobirama was indeed such a person, she wouldn't have believed what Sarutobi Hiruzen and others said. In the end, she overruled everyone and respected Senju Tobirama's wishes, which allowed Sarutobi Hiruzen to become the third-generation Hokage. Chapter 15. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This matter also spread throughout the village. Although everyone did not say it, they all knew that Uzumaki Mito had the highest prestige in the village, and such a high-ranking figure suddenly said that he wanted to adopt an orphan with no power and influence. How could it not be surprising? However, as a man who could become the deputy captain of the security team, Uchiha Xien was still somewhat wise, so after being shocked, he also understood the intention of Uzumaki Mito's move, but this also made him more unable to see through Uchiha Xingliu. There is no doubt that Uchiha Xingliu's words just now were to remind Uchiha Xien of the meaning behind this matter and let him prepare early. This method is not like a 6-year-old child at all. Even if he is precocious, he is not so mature. He is so mature, as the person responsible for notifying Uchiha Xingliu to enter. Uchiha Xien has of course read his information. The intelligence also records Uchiha Xingliu's performance from childhood to adulthood. After all, if he has performed well since childhood, he will not be abandoned by the family. Moreover, his parents were just ordinary Chunin, and they didn't even open the Sharingan. In such a family and environment, it is impossible to cultivate a genius like Uchiha Saryu. Could it be? Uchiha Xien narrowed his eyes, thinking of the huge chakra just now, and had a guess for a while. The awakening of the Sharingan also changes a person's personality and strength, and Uchiha Xien's performance meets this standard. Combined with the death of Uchiha Xingliu's parents, Uchiha Xien thinks that he has opened the Sharingan. Uchiha Xingliu looked at Uchiha Xien and was stunned at first, and then after thinking, he looked a little funny with a look of sudden enlightenment. This kind of facial expression change is really wonderful, worthy of being a member of the Uchiha Three Heroes of Laughing. The expression changes are rich. As for whether what he said made Uchiha Xien guess something, he didn't care. When he reminded Uchiha Xien, he was prepared to be exposed a little, whether it was the protection of Uzumaki Mito or the upcoming promotion of the Sharingan. His family now had the confidence to expose some unimportant things. "What's wrong, big brother, why do you look so silly?" Uchiha Xien's old face flushed when he heard this, but he soon returned to calm. Although Uchiha Xien was sure that the kid in front of him was pretending to be young, the news he just received was indeed a favor, not to mention that there were more important things to do now. "Thank you very much for Xingliu's reminder, and I wish you a happy life with Lord Mito, but I need to leave first." Uchiha Xien's words were telling Uchiha Xingliu that he agreed with Lord Mito's adoption of him. This also meant that he would prepare in advance after returning and strive to make this matter go smoothly within the clan. After seeing Uchiha Xingliu nod, Uchiha Xien left in an instant without saying a word. After he left, Uchiha Xingliu stood up and changed out of his pajamas, looking at the messy bedroom and sighed. After all, this is where the original body has lived since childhood, so let's clean it up. He picked up the broom to sweep away the debris around, and then propped up the collapsed furniture, and the broken ones were thrown out by Uchiha Xingliu. After a while, the whole room became tidy. While he was cleaning the house, Uchiha Xingliu also packed up the things he needed to take away. In the middle of the room, Uchiha Xingliu looked around and stood there silently. "Original body, I have done this to be worthy of you. I will go to offer you a bouquet of flowers on the anniversary of my parents' death in the future." At this moment, the sound of water breaking through the shackles suddenly sounded in Uchiha Xingliu's mind. Uchiha Xingliu's Sharingan opened again unconsciously, and the three Magatama rotated wildly, and soon they became one. Unlike other kaleidoscopes, the kaleidoscope that appeared in Uchiha Xingliu's eyes at this time formed a vortex-shaped pattern with three Magatama in the middle. Although this pattern is very similar to the pattern of the Samsara eye, it is also the unique red eye of the Sharingan, and there are also three Magatama in it. The Mangekyo that Uchiha Xingliu opened is very similar to Indra's, but it is different. As the name of the Mangekyo suggests, there are basically no two identical Mangekyo. The opening of the Mangekyo also improved Uchiha Xingliu's spiritual power. The chakra in the body itself is not so easy to control because of the improvement of the system ability in the morning. At this time, because of the surge in spiritual power due to the opening of the Mangekyo, the chakra directly boiled. Fortunately, because of the morning incident, the room was very empty, and Uchiha Xingliu was standing in an empty place, so the result in the morning was not caused. However, even so, the ground was cracked by the violent chakra. At the same time, Uchiha Xingliu suddenly, the information of his eye technique appeared. He closed the Sharingan and checked the information in his mind. The first is the power of God, Susanoo, but because he has just opened the Mangekyo, he can only reach the skeleton stage now. The eye technique of the left eye is Brahma, which has the ability to add the attributes of creation and destruction to the flame, and can also generate and control flames. To explain Brahma's ability intuitively, the first point is that the flame generated by the eye technique is a white flame of 1500 degrees, and the flame created can be freely controlled. The ability to control fire is not limited to the flame created by the eye technique. All flames can be controlled. The second point, the added creation attribute can increase the ability of Uchiha Xingliu's future fire escape to save people. This kind of attribute of the flame will not only not burn people to death, but will heal injuries. The added destruction attribute is simple. If someone pretends to be a virtual person in front of him in the future, Then Uchiha Xingliu's flame can teach him a lesson. The destruction attribute can destroy everything, and space is naturally among them. The pupil technique of the right eye is called Zhulong, and its ability is much simpler than that of the left eye, controlling the speed of one's own time. The current maximum multiple is 2 times, for example, speeding up one's own time by 2 times, and watching the enemy's movements is like slow motion. These abilities also require the consumption of pupil power, but Uchiha Xingliu's Sharingan can slowly restore pupil power, but as long as it is not used up at once, it can be slowly restored over time. Of course, this ability is just icing on the cake for Uchiha Xingliu, and the hang-up system will sooner or later upgrade the Mangekyo to infinite pupil power. It should be noted that although the ability sounds powerful, it actually has its limitations. For example, the ability of Brahma to control fire. If the temperature of the flame exceeds 3000, it cannot be controlled, and can only interfere. Another example is the attribute of adding destruction. Although it can destroy space, it can only form small space cracks. Of course, the Sharingan can evolve into the Samsara Eye, and these abilities will naturally improve with the promotion of the eyes. Chapter 16. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The power of the Mangekyo is indeed strong. Not only has the ability of observation and illusion been greatly improved, even Uchiha Seiyu's own chakra has also been greatly improved. This feeling of power surge is really immersive, and the Uchiha 4 laughing heroes have a legitimate reason. Even Uchiha Seiyu was immersed in this feeling and lost his original vigilance. Earth escape. Earth flow wall. Thunder escape. Thunder ball. Along with the sound came the changes in the surroundings. For earth walls suddenly appeared around Uchiha Seiyu, surrounding him, and thunder escape also fell from the sky with the force of thunder. Although he lost his vigilance because he was too immersed, people knew it as soon as they touched it, but the panic at this time had no effect. Moreover, who is the prey is not decided by the sneak attacker. Uchiha Seiyu just looked at the attacker indifferently, and the Mangekyo Sharingan quietly opened. Substantial chakra suddenly appeared around him. It seemed slow but actually fast to form a huge skeleton that wrapped around him. It was the divine power that the Uchiha clan was proud of. Susanoo. Although Uchiha Xingliu didn't want to use this ability to hit a mosquito, he didn't have any other ninjutsu to defend himself now. As for whether this would be exposed, he was not worried. As long as he quickly dealt with the mosquito, there would be no witnesses. In this way, no matter what others said, there would be no evidence. It was said to be late, but it was fast. The lightning ball also hit the skeleton of Susanoo at this time. Like an egg hitting a stone, the lightning ball disappeared into the air without causing any impact on Susanoo. The surrounding earth formation walls also collapsed, and Uchiha Xingliu stood quietly in Susanoo, watching the fleeing figure not far away. The attackers cursed in their hearts at this time. They were spies of the Cloud Ninja. This place is remote enough, and it happens to be the edge of the Uchiha clan, just enough to avoid the pursuit of the Umbu. After all, not only are the patrols more intensive at the edge of Konoha, but there are also barriers wrapped around Konoha. It is dark here, and it is safer. They originally planned to exchange information quickly here and then leave. But there was a huge chakra reaction here, which frightened them. After hiding in the same place and waiting for a while without seeing anyone coming, they were ready to continue exchanging information. As a result, it appeared again for the second time. This made them think of whether Konoha was conducting a secret experiment, so they made up their minds to find out. One person in front and one person in the back. If there is a trap in front, then sacrifice the person in front and let the person in the back take the information out. As a result, they came to the place where the chakra reaction occurred, and there was only an ordinary house. They hid beside the room to check, but they didn't expect to see the scene where Uchiha Xingliu opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Although the two people made a wrong judgment because Uchiha Xingliu's Mangekyo looked like 3 Magatama, but this did not prevent them from wanting to get rid of this genius for the village. Uchiha Sarayu looks only 6 or 7 years old. He has opened the 3 Magatama at such a young age. Isn't he another Uchiha Madara in the future? Because of this, they, who were originally only responsible for intelligence work, unanimously made the idea of getting rid of Uchiha Sarayu. In fact, in their opinion, Uchiha Sarayu is just a child. How strong can he be? Although he has opened the 3 Magatama, if he is not prepared, even the Kage can be killed by a sneak attack, let alone Uchiha Sarayu. So the scene that made them dumbfounded happened. Susanoo stood on the ground. In today's ninja world, Hashirama Senju and Uchiha Madara have only been gone for more than 10 years. As excellent ninjas who can be sent out as spies, they naturally recognize the sign of Uchiha Madara. That is why they fled without hesitation. They need to bring back the news that the Mangekyo has appeared in Konoha again. As long as they bring it back, it will be a great achievement. The two people's escape routes were different. They moved in an instant and fled a long distance in a short while. Escaped. Just as the two were thinking this, a ball of blazing white flames suddenly appeared around them. Before the two people screamed, they were burned to charcoal in just a moment. Uchiha Xingliu's Mangekyo was slowly rotating, watching the direction the two people left, and with the death of the two people, the flame did not disappear, and kept burning them to ashes. Uchiha Xingliu watched the two people being burned to ashes before closing the Mangekyo, and then closed and opened it, and it turned into the shape of three Magatama. At this moment, three figures appeared in front of Uchiha Xingliu. Although Uchiha Xingliu is a residential area, it does make a lot of noise. These three people are from the Umbu of the village. The barrier class. The report forced them to come and investigate. They looked at each other, and the ruins caused by the ninjutsu in front of them made the three of them know that a battle must have taken place here. But looking at the Uchiha clan emblem on Uchiha Xingliu, they hesitated for a moment. After a while, one of them walked in front of Uchiha Xingliu and said, "We are the Umbu. What happened here?" That as soon as he finished speaking, the Uchiha guard also arrived at the scene. In this way, this is also the territory of the Uchiha, and it is a bit unreasonable for the guard to arrive later than the Umbu. This place is taken over by the Uchiha. You can leave. The Uchiha is so powerful now, and the duties of the guard in the village are highly overlapped with those of the Umbu. Otherwise, the Uchiha are not really stupid, and they will naturally not do things that have no benefits but only disadvantages. No matter what the plan is, there needs to be a bait, and the second generation will naturally not be reluctant. The duties of the Uchiha guard are to maintain public order, suppress crimes, and also suppress ninja crimes and monitor criminals. The rights of the Umbu in the village were almost all abolished by the Uchiha guard at this time. The Umbu without the second generation had no talents, so they naturally could not compete with the Uchiha. Later, an Umbu named White Fang appeared, which made the proud Uchiha give up some of their rights. Until the Ninetales rebellion, the village used the appearance of the Sharingan in the Ninetales' eyes as an excuse. Not only did they drive the Uchiha out of the clan, but they also took back most of the rights of the guard. At this time, the Uchiha could be said to be only one step away from extermination, but the future is the future. Now in Konoha, the Umbu is inferior to the guard, although he knew that the clan members had good intentions. In Uchiha Xingliu's heart, his own plan was the most important. If he went to the clan today, the matter of the three Magatama would definitely not be concealed. With the personality of the Uchiha, it might affect Uzumaki Mito's adoption of himself. At this point in time, although the Uchiha clan is strong, they cannot compare with Uzumaki Mito, and this sudden attack has become a foregone conclusion. Why not take this opportunity to test the attitude of the third generation towards the Uchiha clan now? After all, reality is not anime. Thinking of this, Uchiha Xingliu said to the guards who came, "Thank you for your concern, but it is better to let the Hokage handle this matter." Uchiha Yen retorted with a proud face. "What are you talking about? This is a matter within our clan and has nothing to do with the Hokage. The glory of the Uchiha clan does not need the help of others. Kid, you'd better follow me." Hearing this, looking at the threatening expression on Uchiha Yan's face, Uchiha Xingliu knew that just talking would not move this person. "So, I'm sorry." Thinking of this, the three Magatama in Uchiha Xingliu's eyes slowly turned, and the pressure of the upper-level Sharingan suddenly made Uchiha Yen unable to bear it. Although he didn't open the Mangekyo, Uchiha Tsurayu's three Magatama has opened up a qualitative gap with the others. Under this pressure, Uchiha Yen unconsciously opened his Sharingan, and he had to use all his strength to barely support himself. He looked at the three Magatama in Uchiha Tsurayu's eyes, puzzled. How can this kid have such pupil power? Although he couldn't speak because of the pressure, Uchiha Tsurayu still understood what the other party wanted to express. "Let me handle the matter involving me myself." After saying that, Uchiha Tsurayu closed his Sharingan, and Uchiha Yen sat down on the ground with a sigh of relief. Uchiha Tsuryu turned around and walked in front of the Umbu, and said slowly. "Let's go, I will tell the Hokage about the details of this matter." And the three Umbu looked at Uchiha Tsuryu in shock, and they didn't expect the development of things to be so magical. Uchiha internal conflict. "However, I would also like to trouble you to help me find someone." Umbu would certainly not refuse such a small matter as finding someone. "Who do you need to find?" Uzumaki Mito. Chapter 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Xingliu finished speaking and stood there waiting for the answers from the Umbu. The three Umbu exchanged glances for a while, and the Umbu who had just asked Uchiha Xingliu stood up. "I'll help you notify Lord Mito, and my colleagues will take you to Lord Hokage." Uchiha Xingliu nodded and said. "Okay, let's go." Seeing that Uchiha Xingliu agreed, the Umbu who spoke gestured and left instantly. The remaining two took Uchiha Xingliu and walked in front to lead the way for him. After they left, Uchiha Yen recovered. He was so embarrassed in front of the Umbu that he gritted his teeth. That brat. But Uchiha Yan's reason told him that this matter was no longer something he could handle. The owner of the three Magatama Sharingan that could suppress him was actually a child who looked so young. Everything that happened just now also made Uchiha Xingliu look like he trusted the Hokage more than the family. There are not many geniuses like this in the Uchiha clan in the past 1,000 years, so we can't let the Hokage brainwash them. Thinking this way, Uchiha Yen got up. Regardless of his miserable appearance, he left here in a hurry. It was busy in the morning, and people were coming and going in the Hokage building. In the Hokage office on the top floor, the Sandaime Hokage was holding a pipe in one hand and puffing out smoke while watching his old friend's performance. "Hiruzen, the ninja world war has just come to an end. Now is the time when spies from all countries are active. The village cannot be without the root. My root has suffered heavy losses during this period. Not only do we need to replenish personnel, but we are also short of funds. As the Hokage, you must be responsible for the root. Allocate some of the personnel and funds of the Umbu to me. Everything I do is for the village." As a good friend of Sarutobi Hiruzen is not as cowardly as he will be in the future, so now he is undoubtedly on Sarutobi Hiruzen's side, but this does not prevent him from fighting for power. From the fact that he has always wanted to be a Hokage, it can be seen that Danzo is a person with a strong desire for power. The root is the result of Danzo's struggle. As a student of the second generation, Sarutobi Hiruzen is not as courageous as the second generation after all. Unable to bear all the sins, he needs to stand in the dark alone and bear all the infamy. At this time, Danzo appeared in front of him. As close friends, Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo certainly know Danzo's character. At this time, someone was needed to take the blame. So the two of them were willing to fight and the root came into being. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath of his pipe and slowly exhaled. He looked at Danzo deeply and said, "No, the Umbu's personnel and funds will not be given to you. I have allowed you to recruit people freely, which is a great delegation of power. Since there are problems with personnel and funds, it is better to disband the root and integrate it into the Umbu. You have to understand that the root is the Umbu's internship base, not your Danzo's one-man show. Although Sarutobi Hiruzen needs a white glove, he also needs to pay attention to whether it will make Danzo have some thoughts that he shouldn't have. The young ninja is ambitious and ruthless, so naturally he will not delegate too much power to Danzo. As for Danzo's subsequent out of control and even sent people to assassinate Sarutobi Hiruzen, we have to talk about Sarutobi Hiruzen's story as the strongest Hokage. To summarize it simply, he spoke boldly in the first war, talked nonsense in the second war, and remained silent in the third war. After becoming Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen never went to the battlefield again. As Hokage, he did not participate in the Second Ninja World War, but only let his three apprentices enter this hell. If Hanzo had not given him a face, the three ninjas would have been gone at that time, and White Fang, who performed well in the Second Ninja World War, committed suicide under his acquiescence and was hit by public opinion. Even in the Third Ninja World War, Konoha, as the actual victorious country, did not receive the compensation it deserved. The direct result was that the third Hokage had to step down, and indirectly it also allowed the root to grow stronger. After all, a cowardly Hokage must have made many people dissatisfied, and Danzo was a representative of the Hawks. Regardless of whether his proposal to unify the 5 major countries can be realized, it can always attract people to join, but now is now. Sarutobi Hiruzen would be stupid to give power to Danzo. The young ninja hero is still very determined to Danzo, so although Danzo was furious and knew that this was Sarutobi Hiruzen warning him, he did not dare to refute. Just when he wanted to say something nice and ask Sarutobi Hiruzen to give him something, a knock on the door attracted the attention of the 2 people in the room. Pay attention. Hokage, the Umbu Tanuki and Lizard brought an Uchiha child to see you, saying that they have something to report. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, thinking that the matter was not simple. According to common sense, generally speaking, matters that do not involve the safety of Konoha are reported directly to the head of the Umbu. Otherwise, if you come to the Hokage for a small matter, you can't handle it even if you can clone the shadow. Since it involves Uchiha, it is not impossible to meet him. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, "Let them in." After speaking, looking at Danzo standing aside, Sarutobi Hiruzen did not drive him away. In his opinion, some small matters do not need to be avoided from old friends. Little did he know that Sarutobi Hiruzen would regret this decision immediately. Not long after Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, 2 Umbu brought Uchiha Tsuryu in. Uchiha Tsuryu looked up and saw that the current ninja hero and ninja world Nabe King were still very young. Now they are full of vigor and vitality, and have real strength. Moreover, as the Hokage and the head of the root, the 2 of them already have the aura of superiors. This feeling will make ordinary people restrained in front of them, but it is useless to Uchiha Xingliu, who understands the truth of the ninja world. The truth of the ninja world, the bigger the fist, the harder the truth. When Senju Hashirama wants to do something, the whole world must listen to his voice. Now that Uchiha Xingliu has opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, he can not only win the 2 people in front of him, but also retreat calmly. With such strength, confidence will naturally appear. What's more, his backup will soon arrive, so naturally there is no need to kowtow to these 2 people. 2 Anbu walked up to Sarutobi Hiruzen, knelt on one knee and said in a deep voice, "Anbu Tanuki and Lizard greet the Hokage." About 20 minutes ago, a battle broke out at the edge of the Uchiha base. There were only the ruins of the house and this Uchiha Tsuryu at the scene, and no trace of other ninjas was found. Hearing the words of the Anbu, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the Uchiha Tsuryu who had just looked at him. "Little boy, what's your name?" Chapter 18. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Tsuryu. Sarutobi Hiruzen then asked, "What happened there? Can you tell me?" Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know Uchiha Tsuryu's performance, so he naturally wouldn't embarrass a child, so his tone became soft, but this annoyed Danzo next to him. Danzo didn't inherit any advantages of the 2nd generation, but there was one thing that could be said to be better than the master, that is, hatred for Uchiha. He snorted coldly, and said gloomily, "Little ghost, tell us the truth honestly, otherwise it would be a betrayal of Konoha." Uchiha Tsuryu was dismissive of this. No wonder Danzo couldn't become Hokage. The 2 of them had too much difference in dealing with people, and their emotional intelligence was not on the same level. Besides, with Danzo's face that made him unhappy with everyone, anyone would choose Sarutobi Hiruzen. Danzo's weaknesses are too easy to find, and there is no need to be on edge to poke his lungs, so Uchiha Tsuryu pointed at Sarutobi Hiruzen and asked innocently, "I think this uncle is the Hokage, isn't it the Hokage who has the final say here?" "You." "Enough, Danzo. This is the Hokage's office." Danzo was about to get angry when he was scolded by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Danzo, who was scolded, had to obey the Hokage even if he was unwilling. He looked at Uchiha Tsuryu with a gloomy face and glared, hoping to oppress him in this way. Then Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up, walked to the side of Uchiha Tsuryu and raised his hand, wanting to touch his head. Uchiha Tsuryu naturally wouldn't let Sarutobi Hiruzen touch him, and gently avoided his hand and said, "Hokage-sama, let's get back to what happened just now." Sarutobi Hiruzen saw him avoiding him, and retracted his hand in dismay, then pretended to be calm and picked up the pipe, took a puff and said, "Well, let's talk about it." Uchiha Tsuryu pondered for a moment and looked at the 2 Umbu in front of him. "My 3 Magatama have been exposed, so it's better to make it clear directly, as long as there are other trump cards. Thinking of this, Uchiha Xingliu said. Today, I encountered an assassination by spies while practicing in my room. After I repelled those spies, the Umbu arrived at the scene. The remaining ruins are where I fought those spies, and it is also where I used to live. Sarutobi Hiruzen was very surprised to hear that Uchiha Xingliu, who looked young, could actually repel the assassination of spies. Even if these spies are not jonin, they can escape from the hands of jonin, and Uchiha Xingliu actually said that he repelled the spies, which means that he has the strength of an elite chunin. Just when he wanted to ask Uchiha Xingliu how to repel the spies, Danzo on the side couldn't help it. Who are you kidding, kid? The spies of the ninja village are at least chunin, how can you repel them? As Danzo said this, he slapped the table and sentenced Uchiha Xingliu in the next sentence. I think you were let off the hook and betrayed the village by being their insider. Uchiha Xingliu was tired of Danzo's barking here, and the 3 Magatama Sharingan opened instantly. Danzo had just been trying to force Uchiha Xingliu with his eyes, and now he saw these 3 Magatama. Even though Uchiha Xingliu doesn't know illusion now, under the power of Mangekyo pupil, the hallucination of Sharingan is enough. At this moment, Danzo felt that the blood-red 3 Magatama Sharingan was staring at him like the god of death. The huge pressure made his heart seem to stop beating, and even his breathing stopped. Although all this happened in an instant, Sarutobi Hiruzen still noticed the fluctuation of chakra. Seeing the look of his old friend, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that he was under an illusion. Although he was a little shocked that an illusion could control Danzo in an instant, now was not the time to ask about it. But before he could say anything, Uchiha Xingliu closed the Sharingan and said, I think Elder Danzo should know how I repelled the spy. If you still don't believe it, I can show you by demonstrating it. Although it was only a matter of a moment, Danzo still felt that he was saved when the 3 Magatama disappeared. What followed was a huge shame, a shame that made him angry. Little brat, you dare to openly attack the top leaders of Konoha. You are betraying Konoha, Hiruzen, what are you waiting for? Let's join forces to take him down. Sarutobi Hiruzen was also a little hesitant at this time. The child with 3 Magatama was even as old as Tsunade. The person with such potential is still Uchiha. If left alone, he might be the next Uchiha Madara. Just when Sarutobi Hiruzen was hesitant, the door of the office was kicked open. Bang! The sudden loud noise attracted everyone's attention, and a woman with a bun walked in leisurely. Enough. He's just a child. Monkey, you disappoint me today. The person who came was naturally Uzumaki Mido. In fact, she arrived when Uchiha Xingliu performed the Sharingan, and she also heard what Danzo said. She wanted to come in to stop Danzo at that time, but suddenly she wanted to know what kind of magnanimity Sarutobi Hiruzen would have, so she stopped outside the door and waited for Sarutobi Hiruzen's next treatment. As a Hokage, no matter how the people in the village arranged Uchiha, you can't make your position clear. Otherwise, this atmosphere will become more and more intense, and finally form a confrontational situation. And just now Sarutobi Hiruzen did not stop Danzo immediately, but did not take the next step, which made her a little disappointed. Whether he was indecisive or agreed with Danzo's statement, it was a sign of distrust towards Uchiha. This also shows that Sarutobi Hiruzen is just as capable as Hokage. Even if the second generation said that Uchiha was evil, he would not target an Uchiha child so much. Otherwise, how could Uchiha Kagami become the second generation's apprentice? The second generation hated Uchiha, but he would also find a way to integrate Uchiha into Konoha instead of trying to exclude Uchiha. Just now, Danzo said that Uchiha Xingliu would become the next Uchiha Madara, but he was just afraid that his rights would be threatened. Uzumaki Mido's disappointed expression made Sarutobi Hiruzen a little sad. These words were all said by Danzo. Is it wrong for him to do nothing? Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't figure it out. Just like a child needs praise from his parents, Sarutobi Hiruzen also wants Uzumaki Mido to always recognize him, but what happened today made Mido no longer approve of him, which was not a good sign in any way, so Sarutobi Hiruzen made what he thought was the right remedy. Chapter 19. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My words count here. I apologize to you and hope you can forgive my behavior just now. Sarutobi Hiruzen's apology was very sincere, but Uchiha Tsuryu was very disdainful, which made Uzumaki Mito even more disappointed, since he had made a mistake. As a person in power, he could actually go his own way and make the mistake to the end. A tyrant is one who is stubborn regardless of right or wrong, but a swaying attitude and unable to make up his mind is undoubtedly a tyrant. If Sarutobi Hiruzen could still support Danzo's opinion and take action against Uchiha Tsuryu under the watchful eyes of Uzumaki Mito, of course, this problem of Uchiha may never be solved, but it can also make people see his decisiveness and barely be a qualified leader. But now this behavior of changing one's will without the courage to be influenced by others, it even made Uzumaki Mito regret and began to question whether his original decision was correct. Although this idea was extinguished by her in an instant, it was also planted in Uzumaki Mito's heart like a seed, waiting for the moment of flowering and bearing fruit. In fact, Uchiha Tsuryu knew about it as soon as Uzumaki Mito arrived at the Hokage building. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so radical. Otherwise, what would happen if he got out of control? This time, he not only met Sarutobi Hiruzen, but also Shimura Danzo, and his goal was achieved. Although he couldn't predict the sudden attack, he took this opportunity to understand the attitude of the Sandaime towards Uchiha. It was similar to the later generations, with a kind of prejudice, and under the influence of Danzo, this prejudice would definitely take the path of rejecting Uchiha. This made Uchiha Tsuryu understand that the two of them could not coexist. Uzumaki Mito could still suppress him now, but one day he would become like he would in the future. Instead of waiting for Sarutobi Hiruzen to put a knife on his neck, it would be better to kill him directly. After understanding this truth, he started his own operation. First, it was to irritate Danzo and make him do irrational things. Once a person is in a state of anger, he will do something without thinking. Later, just as Uchiha Tsuryu expected, Danzo, despite being reprimanded, still defined his behavior today without Sarutobi Hiruzen's permission. In order to explain how he repelled the attacker, the 3 Magatama Sharingan would definitely not be concealed, so it would be better to directly give Danzo a warning. Afterwards, the performances of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Uzumaki Mito were all within his expectations. It was a very simple rift, and Sarutobi Hiruzen cooperated so well that Uchiha Tsuryu wanted to give him an award. Now that all of Uchiha Tsuryu's goals have been achieved, he can do the last thing. It's okay, but I asked Sister Mito to come here for another reason. Uchiha Tsuryu first responded to Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, and then ran all the way to Uzumaki Mito. Sister Mito, my house was destroyed today, so can I go to your place today? Uchiha Tsuryu's address made everyone present want to laugh, and the serious atmosphere just now disappeared with Uchiha Tsuryu's 2 casual words. Mito, sister. The 3rd generation and Danzo thought about it, and Uzumaki Mito was indeed capable of making a child call her sister, but someone who was old enough to be Uchiha Tsuryu's grandmother was called sister, and they wanted to laugh when they thought of that scene. Even a person like Uzumaki Mito was a little anxious in front of so many people at this time. She stepped forward and hurriedly changed the subject. Since Xiao Xingliu has no place to live, and everyone is here today, let's do tomorrow's things in advance. I will adopt this child in the future, and the name does not need to be changed. She will be a companion to Tsunade in the future. Uzumaki Mito's 2 light words were as heavy as Mount Tai in the ears of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo. Uzumaki Mito's adoption of Uchiha Tsuryu, both of them are old foxes, naturally they can see what this means. In their view, this behavior is a signal to release their own political signals, requiring them to change their policies. They have been targeting Uchiha openly and secretly, but now they want to change their usual behavior, which is a behavior that will hit their prestige. But it was Uzumaki Mito who did this, and they can only swallow this bitter result. Seeing that the 2 of them were silent, Uzumaki Mito didn't care. After all, she had made a decision and would do it to the end. In her opinion, adopting Uchiha Tsuryu can effectively solve the problems of Uchiha and avoid possible civil unrest in the future, just like Hashirama Senju could take action against his close friend Uchiha Madara. No matter who threatens the village, Uzumaki Mito can take action to deal with him without hesitation. If someone stops her and she can't come up with a more effective plan, then just change a Hokage. Incompetent people can only drag down the village. Since no one objects, then this matter is settled. After saying that, Uzumaki Mito took Uchiha Tsuryu's hand and left without waiting for others to react. after she left for a while, there was a sound of smashing the table in the office. Hiruzen, you saw it all. That kid will definitely be a scourge in the future. Leave it to me, and I will definitely get rid of him for you. Sarutobi Hiruzen held the pipe but didn't smoke it, just quietly thinking about Danzo's words. No, he has been adopted by Mito-sama, and now he has become a bridge. Whoever touches him is an enemy of Mito-sama. And not all Uchiha are bad, Jing is also a Uchiha, and he has the will of fire. In fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew that Uchiha Tsuryu couldn't move now. He has become the bridge of communication between the village and the Uchiha clan. Whoever dares to destroy the bridge will be killed by Uzumaki Mito. But Danzo didn't care about these. He only heard Sarutobi Hiruzen's rebuttal and couldn't help but roar. You will regret it, Hiruzen. To this, Sarutobi Hiruzen just said lightly. Danzo, I am the Hokage. Danzo was so angry that he slammed the door and left. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up the pipe again and started to smoke. For a while, the smoke covered Sarutobi Hiruzen's face, allowing people to see clearly what he was thinking. Let's go back to more than 10 minutes ago. The Uchiha clan, the residence of the great elder Uchiha Setsuna, the embarrassed Uchiha Yen knocked on the door of the room anxiously. Who is it? It's me, Uchiha Yen. I have an urgent matter to see the great elder. Hearing this, the door was opened instantly, and a butler-like person walked out of it. In that case, I'll take you there. After saying that, the butler took Uchiha Yen to where Uchiha Setsuna was. At this time, Uchiha Setsuna was drinking tea. He frowned unhappily at the disheveled Uchiha Yen. What's the matter? Uchiha Yen knelt on one knee and said solemnly. Master Setsuna, I found a genius, a unique genius. Uchiha Setsuna thought it was a major event that made Uchiha Yen come directly to the door without regard for etiquette, but he didn't expect it to be just a small matter. Genius, the most abundant thing in Uchiha is genius. Seeing his indifferent face, Uchiha Yen didn't care about any etiquette, stood up and walked in front of Uchiha Setsuna and continued. That kid looks only 6 or 7 years old, but he has already opened the 3 Magatama Sharingan. Uchiha Setsuna stood up, ignoring the overturned teacup, and directly pulled Uchiha Yen up. What did you say? Chapter 20. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Setsuna lost control of his strength and pulled Uchiha Yen painfully, but he still endured the pain and said. Today, when I was patrolling the clan land, I found a battle. When I arrived at the scene, I found that there was no trace of the enemy, only a little kid standing there. After that, he was pressed to the ground by his 3 Magatama Sharingan, and he left with the umbu. He hesitated for a moment. After all, it was a bit embarrassing to be defeated by a child, but he still knew the importance of the matter, so after hesitating, he told the whole story. Uchiha Setsuna was excited when he said it, until he heard that this genius followed the umbu. He knew why Uchiha Yen came to inform him. What is the concept of 3 Magatama at the age of 6 or 7? Uchiha has not had such a monster for thousands of years. 6 or 7 years old is an incredible genius to open his eyes, not to mention the 3 Magatama Sharingan. With this kind of talent, Uchiha Setsuna didn't believe that he couldn't open the Mangekyo when he grew up, so he couldn't help it anymore, and notified his subordinates to investigate the information of Uchiha Xingliu, and held a meeting with his power as the elder. As a representative of the Hawk faction, Uchiha Setsuna was eager to take back sovereignty from the Senju clan, and even incited the Uchiha clan to rebel. Unfortunately, he was imprisoned by the second generation before he succeeded. He was also released after the second generation died in battle. The purpose was to appease the Uchiha clan so that the third generation Hokage could succeed smoothly. Since being imprisoned by the second generation, Uchiha Setsuna has been thinking about why the Uchiha clan can't be Hokage. In the end, he got the answer. The Uchiha is not strong enough. Although most of the Uchiha with 3 Magatama are elite Jonin, this strength is not enough to be Hokage. Uchiha Setsuna knows his limit. He can't open the Mangekyo, but now it was different. A seedling with a kaleidoscope suddenly appeared in front of him, like a drowning man. The appearance of Uchiha Xingliu was like the last straw. Uchiha Setsuna would not give up. Master Setsuna, the information has been checked, and the clan leaders and elders have also arrived. Just as Uchiha Setsuna was imagining the future, his housekeeper had come and done everything he needed to do. Now everything is ready, just waiting for Uchiha Setsuna. He walked to the conference room, opened the door and walked in. Before he sat down, a sarcastic voice sounded. Elder Setsuna is so powerful. He notified us of something concerning the whole clan, but he was the last to arrive. It's really, TSK. Uchiha Setsuna looked closely and saw that it was the second elder Uchiha, who he usually didn't get along with. Uchiha Setsuna is the representative of the Hawk faction, and Uchiha is the representative of the Dove faction. As for the clan leader Uchiha Mingda, who was sitting on the side, he did not help either side. If he encountered such ridicule at ordinary times, Uchiha Setsuna would definitely quarrel with him, but today he had more important things to do. Uchiha Setsuna snorted coldly and ignored the second elder. Instead, he looked around and said slowly, "Today, I summoned you all because of something that concerns the fate of the Uchiha clan." Seeing that Uchiha Setsuna ignored him, and that he was speaking so seriously, Uchiha did not continue to ridicule him. "Today, my subordinate Uchiha Yen discovered a genius, the most talented talent in the Uchiha clan in 1,000 years. As he said this, he took out the information he had just retrieved and passed it to everyone present. "This information is about this genius, everyone can take a look." Uchiha picked it up and saw that the first page of the information had a picture and name of Uchiha Xingliu. Uchiha Xingliu, I seem to have heard this name somewhere before, let me think about it. Just when Uchiha was still thinking about this familiar name, Uchiha Setsuna continued excitedly. "I couldn't believe it when I saw it. The information shows that this kid named Xingliu is actually the child of two Chunins. And he is only 6 years old this year. He has never received ninja education since he was a child. Now he has opened the 3 Magatama. We are all experienced people. I don't need to say much about what this talent means. The light of the Mangekyo will shine on Uchiha again." Hearing this, the whole conference room was boiling, everyone lost their usual etiquette, and some people even cheered. "God bless Uchiha. 3 Magatama at the age of 6, the future Mangekyo. Uchiha will surely be glorious again. That's right, he will definitely lead us to take the throne of Hokage, what Madara couldn't do during his time as the chief." When Uchiha heard the age of 6, he remembered what Uchiha Shien had told him when he came back in the morning. A kid named Uchiha Xingliu, this child who was half abandoned by the family, was picked by Uzumaki Mido and will be officially adopted tomorrow. Not good. When he thought of this, Uchiha felt urgent and quickly looked through the information in his hand. As each item of the information matched, Uchiha's heart sank. Even the dovish Uchiha knew the importance of the Mangekyo. At that time, he was happy that Uzumaki Mido was willing to give Uchiha a chance and build a bridge of communication to alleviate the current situation of Uchiha being excluded. He didn't expect that the future Mangekyo would be abducted. Uchiha's strangeness naturally attracted the attention of other people at the meeting. Uchiha Setsuna also stopped his speech and looked at Uchiha seriously. The quiet hall also brought Uchiha back to his senses. Looking at the tribesmen around him who were watching him, he smiled bitterly and said, "I'm afraid there's something wrong with this matter. This child named Uchiha Sarayu has been favored by Lord Uzumaki Mido." Hearing Uchiha's words, Uchiha Setsuna suddenly remembered the departure of Uchiha Sarayu and the Umbu. For a moment, he seemed to understand something, and he asked anxiously, "What does it mean to be favored by Uzumaki Mido? Explain it clearly." Uchiha raised the information in his hand helplessly, pointed to the picture of Uchiha Sarayu and said, "This child told Shien and me this morning that he has been adopted by Lord Uzumaki Mido." Uchiha's words were like a bomb, causing everyone present to explode. This is too much. How can someone take the Mangekyo away? I don't agree with this. Yes, let's go and settle accounts with that woman Mido. Just when everyone in the conference room was united in hatred of the enemy, a sudden proposal made the conference room quiet again. Everyone looked at the person who made this suggestion. Under the gaze of so many people, he sat back in his seat in dismay and dared not mention this matter again. What's the difference between settling accounts with Uzumaki Mido and asking for a fight?